Hello and welcome to another video. So today for the Legacy Grand Prix I decided to play Tenko Haven. Did a wonderful job, as you can see, going at 5-0 and extremely easy games, to be honest. It was a little tight on one of two of them, but overall they seem to roll pretty quickly, especially if you get early Tenko. We're probably not going to look at every single game in this 5-win thing because that will make the video way too long and I don't really want to do that. So we're just going to pick out a couple of the matches here that I think might be interesting and we'll take a look at them. We'll take a look, of course, at this deck. It's pretty basic as far as Tenko goes. I mean, this was extremely powerful when it was in the meta, and it's no surprise that it was picked for the Grand Prix, although, personally, Themis Purge isn't as nice as the normal, of course, Themis Decree, so that's a little bit of a downer, but everything else rock solid, so we're going to get right into this and check it out. So the first game we're going to look up is against Rune. These Legacy games have been a lot of fun. And I think definitely going into Group A, I'm going to probably go with probably this Tenko Haven to start with and see how that takes me. Since this will be one of the last Legacy videos, actually, we should be rounding them up soon to coincide with the next meta, maybe. Maybe we might even have some with after the expansion if I've still got leftover videos, but we'll wait and see. So, Father of Punishment is a quite solid Evo turn card. Really, it was just a matter of me getting on curve for the most part. So, getting the Whitefang Temple into Tenko was important. Having something to set up on 5, in this case Father of Punishment and Blackened Scripture. And then turn 6, 7 is really, really good. So now we're going to start, of course, our ping effects. Since most of the opposing decks don't run Amulet Removal outside of Dragon, I think, and pretty sure that might be one of the only ones. I haven't really looked through every single list in depth. It's just off the top of my head. So we're looking for a good turn 5 play. One that allows us to, of course, remove this owl and go for more damage. And since we only need one open spot next turn, we can actually play the other Moray, which will actually be fairly decent. Especially if they go for a Board Swarm, if they are a Daria or a D-shift play. I think there may also be Neutral Rune, which is not as good, personally. So another Magic Owl. Not really an issue with this. Gym Princess is going to do a really good job with an Evo. Or even without an Evo. Probably should have honestly thrown the Evo and got the extra damage on it, but this is still okay. It saves me the Evo point, which I could possibly use for the Heavenly Knight, which is where I'll make up, you know, maybe a little bit of damage. And stops me, of course, from being screwed over by OP cards. So I probably should have went for the Summit Temple play. I think that would have actually gave me lethal straight out. Of course, I couldn't go for Heavenly Knight on its own, so obviously I would have been short. So I guess this was actually the appropriate line of play. We do have the Blackened Scripture to deal with this. We've also got Purge if we have to. But it looks like the Blackened Scripture is going to be just fine to pick up game with this very, very easily. We could have also just rammed this, of course, and then went for the whole Heavenly Knight. So many options for lethal. This is just one of the more fun ones. Next up, we're going to be playing against Neutral Blood. This deck actually does a fairly decent job at countering Neutral Blood most of the time. Of course, if they do get an absolutely perfect hand, it's very difficult to hit your perfect hand for the exact counter, but I did find this deck does an okay job at handling the Neutral Blood lists. We did end up going up against two Neutral Bloods, two Haven decks, one being Tenko, one being Storm, I think, and of course the Rune match you had just seen. So after this Blood match, we're actually going to look at one of the Haven ones to round out this video, but we did start off really solid, turn 1 and 0 cost to play. Double the value right there. Didn't really get much else though, and they did get the turn 1 Goblin play, so them going second is good for us. I think the other Neutral Blood, I guess, went first, but really just couldn't hit when they needed to. So Bashful, a good play. I mean, it's going to neutralize this board fairly well. We do want a good hit with this. Oh, Goblin Probably one of the worst, even though it was 50-50 of hitting a goblin play. Now, I probably could have went for the Summit Temple. Honestly, looking back on it, probably would have been the better play. But this was still reasonable, considering they've gone for Baphomet twice now. And now I'm just really looking for those Tenkos. If I can get those into my hand, I don't need to worry about anything else at all. Otherwise, we're really banking on this Heavenly Knight to go for lethal. Graph Mountaineer Captain. That's a good way to deal with the 5-5, although you are going to lose it immediately to the Moriekrim. This does leave room for me to go for the double White Fang Temple play to try and heal ourselves back up and out of range of any issues. And it also sets up for our Hind, since we've got 2 amulets on board, so if we need that, we can also go for it. Ooh, Scarlet. So it doesn't feel good with an Evo there. But, I mean, Happy Pig trade, we can actually go to max health again and set up a Hind of Light, which will be another healing source, which will actually proc both of these amulets, I think, at the end of this turn. Although it does cost us our last Evo point. Not that we don't have other options to deal with things, so it's not the worst. Yeah, so I think these are all going to drop down to 0, giving us 2 6/6s. And of course our 3-5. And we're still 1 turn from them being able to use an Abyss, since they didn't end up getting the buff Metabyss play going off. And since they left everything up, a Summit Temple Heavenly Knight is going to be way more than enough for lethal. They probably could have went for the Evo Tove play, that would have been their only hope, but they still been left in an extremely rough situation, so perfect setup for us for lethal. And for the last one, we're going to look at the Havencraft matchup. I believe this was a Mirror Tenko match, so that's actually pretty cool. I believe it was this match. Otherwise it's Stormhaven. They're the only 2 games I played that were against Haven, that is. The Sealed Tomb play is not bad. It's definitely not as good without turn 1. But at least we've got a turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 play, and a draw for next turn, so a couple of draws if you want to get a little more technical with it. And we ended up getting Globe. Why couldn't we have had that turn 1? Would have been much better. So now our best chance is probably just to throw the Mori and Globe down, since we are setting up for more removal anyway. Because we have removal going off next turn. Taking a couple of damage actually doesn't worry me that much. And I think this must have been a neutral Haven, actually, looking at the cards. This was the Stormish Haven deck. Neutral, I guess, was more Tempo Haven, but I was only remembering because I remembered for this last match I played against Garuda cards, so can't blame a guy for forgetting. So we're going to get a lot of amulets down now. Some decent draw power going into the next turn. And we've already got a healing start, so that's always good. Lion of the Gold City. Not a card you want to see come down here. Not with Tin Soldier. So this is a little bit of a rough thing to deal with. Not impossible, just a little bit more of a pain. Luckily, Gem Princess is actually perfect. A perfect setup draw. We are going to trade into the 5-5 and leave up the 5-6 since they have already used the Evo point on the 5-6, so at worst, we're not going to just straight up die. Well, not that we probably would straight up die from it, but we definitely wouldn't be in as good a spot. Valhalla General, so that one's a little rough because now we do have to deal with that 8-9, and the only way I can think of doing it is by Evoing. And it doesn't look like I have any other option. So a Hind Evo, in particular Dark Hind, is going to make these amulets both proc, which lowers our healing, but since I can't see any other way around, this is the only way we can deal with this and not just lose. At least we do get to heal a couple. And Tenko already has the source of damage, which is always good. which I wish I had have paid a bit more attention to and realized here, because double Tenko play on board would have just been a lot quicker than what I'm about to do. So I end up using the 6-6, which was probably the wrong move. I could have went 6-6 to face, dealt 4 damage to the follower, and then been a little bit better off for next turn. And I wouldn't have lost that to Black Inscription then either, which would have been a massive advantage. All I can really do now is just wipe this out. And Hindlight is actually going to do a good job of allowing us to pick up a kill. Even though we are going to miss pings to face. Wish Tenko would hit face after it cleared followers, but that would probably just be too overpowered, to be honest. At least now we have at least 3 healing sources on board, and we can add a 4th one next turn if we want to, which will be an insane amount of damage. So we're probably going to take it up to 4 again. We have Bashful and we have Temple. Or we can actually go for Hind, that would probably be a better one. Light Hind, adding that healing source. Plus Bashful, since it does cost 5, and we can't play it along with Heavenly Knight anyway very easily when you get the ambush, which is a much better benefit. And now we just wipe board. Really was no trouble to do that, since we were actually like 4 pings over, which is crazy. Another Winged Sentinel draw combo. That's actually a really nice combination of cards. Now we just need to try and go for lethal as best we can. So all we can really do here is play the Heavenly Knight. This will allow us to do 9 damage. With the actual couple of heals, it's going to open up 8, which is lethal. A little bit of a roundwood way to do it, but it worked just fine. And did, of course, get us the victory. So I'm very glad we didn't try to do all 5 of these. It would have taken up an astronomical amount of time, but definitely got to give props to Tenko Haven. It does a wonderful job. We'll redeem these rewards, see what we get. Should be pretty decent. Not too bad. 250 rupees for the next expansion, and the 1 Ultisphere ticket, which I'll probably open after this video is done. So hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Any other links to any other info you ever want will always be in my description below. Until next time, see ya.